Ladies and gentlemen, allow me to speak in English.
Everybody, welcome to Car Design Forum Tokyo 2017. Representing Car Design Forum Tokyo 2015 Executive Committee, I am very pleased to you have here. I am very excited to see lots of global leaders in the industry and excellent audience in this room. And we had done 2 years ago, Car Design Forum 2015. It was very successful. We are very pleased to be back here again to having 2017. The objective of this forum is to create a platform for the design community to inspire each other by exchanging the creativity and exchanging the best practice of design. And we are in the middle of a revolution of the automotive and the mobility. I think the role and the scope of design is changing. And responsibility of the designer is also to be evolved. I believe this forum is very beneficial for you all for taking this opportunity. And this forum is, by the way, association with Tokyo Motor Show, with JAMA. But we expand more than Tokyo Motor Show. We have much more broader speakers who are not really representing Tokyo Motor Show. This time, we expand the focus on Asia. Now we have a much wider speakers from China, India, and Korea. And we expand this scope because it's so influential for today's world. In addition to that, we appreciate the presence and participation of the sponsors, and which supply us new technology and new innovation to inspire design. And the last, I'd like to say thank you for JAMA and all the sponsors to make this event possible. Thank you very much. Please enjoy whole day. Yeah, I'm going to the MC for today. So let's start with the first session. This session is to explore the new definition and the new value of luxury and the future trend of the new luxury customers. Today we have 3 speakers. Luxury brand, which is challenging to establish a brand. First, Alfonso Albaisa, Senior Vice President of Global Design of Nissan Motor Company. And today you are representative of Infiniti. He has been, before current his position, he has been Executive Design Director for Infiniti for many years. Latest design direction of Infiniti has been created by him. He is very creative, and a very artistic guy. And he is very rare Cuban designer in the industry. At the same time, he is very Japanese mind. And next is Sangyup Lee. Sangyup Lee is the design director for Hyundai and Genesis. And he's representing Hyundai's premium brand, Genesis, today. And as you know, brochure, Luc Dunkerberg was supposed to speak today, but he has some reason not to come. But we are very happy to have Sangyup Lee here.
Thank you.
And he has been, you said, 8 countries in 25 years. He has been broader experience like a GM and very later Bentley, correct? Yes. And he joined Hyundai very recently. Now he's finally returned to his home country. And yeah, home country. He has been so many years outside of the Korea. And he is responsible for shaping the future of Genesis and Hyundai. I think he is one of the most renowned and talented Korean designers today. And Sawa-san is a president of Lexus International Company and the managing director of Toyota Motor Company. Now he has a huge responsibility on his shoulder. He is a president of Lexus International. It's not design, beyond the design. And he has got so many senior positions in the Toyota Motor Company, design and also engineering. He has a broader experience in his career. All right, and finally, today's moderator is Yuko Iida-san. Iida-san is one of the top female motor journalists in Japan and very active. So now I switch to Japanese. So, じゃあ、Iida-san, よろしくお願いいたします。
Iida-san, please. Good morning. So from this point on, the panel session number 1 is about to be started. First of all, it's about new luxury with that as a theme. 3 of the presenters will be giving their remarks, after which we would like to deepen our discussions amongst us. So first of all, Alfonso-san, please.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone. Thank you, Shiro-san. I have to start with a half apology. I have been working with Shiro for many, many, many years, 17 years, and always he gives me very clear assignment, and expectation is super clear, and always my delivery is a little bit off of this subject. But so I didn't exactly cover luxury per se as defined, but I think the issue with luxury today and with the premium customer is that they're looking for a story. They want to know the story behind the object, that the object has meaning, not just for the object itself, but for what is the origins of the object, what are the background of the people who make the object. So this is what I have started with today. And so I'm going to read. My apologies, because it's over 20 pages, and, but it's about Japan. So it is my belief that art and design are a reflection of, or a mirror of society today. And as Nissan designers, we have a very deep connection to our home country, our home society, Japan. And it is that connection that I would like to focus on for a few minutes today. Let me start with Japan. Japanese art, architecture, fashion, graphic, and object design is well recognized and admired around the world. I never tire coming across new things, and somehow in this hyper-connected homogeneity of our wide world, they remain so unique. They're very pure, visually powerful here in Japan. And I'm obsessed with this, to be honest. It is not just that the art and design that is an unresolved puzzle for me. It is also much bigger than that, much deeper than that. So in Japan today, the human experience has avoided most of the unpleasant realities of modern day society, while on the other hand, embracing the human race forward and being on the edge of modernity itself. At the end of the day, or actually in the beginning, it is that the people and the context of the island that has created the purity and uniqueness of, that we all admire today. So today we're going to chat about this. The variety of this country composed of more than 6,000 islands that make this history rich and it's complex. More than 30,000 years ago, the first human beings started to populate this singular territory and discovered fairly quickly that this beautiful place has significant obstacles for living. Located in the seismic and volcanic fire belt of the Pacific, Japan is locked in a constant confrontation with nature. Actually, this is partly what makes Japanese landscape so beautiful. But unfortunately, it comes with a price. Earthquakes, tsunamis, typhoons, snowstorms, and other natural resources. This is a place where you can feel the true power of nature, and where you see that the adversity is confronted, it's understood, and then resolved with togetherness. This togetherness is so much a part of life in Japan. And with the exception of earthquakes, the rest of these phenomena can be predictable and cyclic. In these centuries of existence, Japanese people have learned to be prepared, have learned to plan their lives, and in the circumstances of these islands. For some historians of Japan, these special relationships with nature had influenced the way of life of the Japanese people, and that said, the way they create. This powerful, unpredictable nature is also the center of Shintoism, the most present religion in Japan, where people are connected to nature, which has been not perfect throughout its history. This powerful, unpredictable and in Shintoism, everything is a god. This idea of embracing the imperfection turned into a deep concept that in Japan culture is the aesthetic. All of this context is our territory to create. To be here in Japan, leading the designers to create the cars of the future, means to dig into the history of this great country, to try to understand, and then to be inspired by this unique way to think and to create. But how does this story, these notions, and these ideas of Japan translate into shapes and inspire our own creations? For that, let's continue exploring Japan, but through the eyes of Nissan design inspiration. Utsuroi. These are natural circumstances we've been talking about, are also the basic of classical Japanese philosophy that understands the basic reality of constant change, or the Buddhist concept of impermanence. And creation in Japan had traditionally reflected this fundamental impermanence. Utsuroi, that literally means change, is a concept we Nissan designers are recreating into objects. Utsuroi is also a sensitivity derived from this very Japanese reverence for nature. We can understand Utsuroi as fluidity and the natural asymmetry created by this. Also powerful intersections, and maybe more literally in our designs, dynamic energy. Ikki. Ikki is a wonderful concept. Actually, more than 400 years ago, when in Kyoto was the center of government, it was where the emperor was, there was a shift in Japan. The center of government moved to Tokyo. And in Tokyo, this new energy was starting to happen in the Japanese people themselves. And it created a new design, and I want to talk about that. The basis of Ikki is thought to have formed among urbane mercantile class called the Chonin in Edo. Actually, Tokyo, around 4 centuries ago, a new aesthetic started to emerge from this new rising middle class. The Ikki is a term linked to a person dignified in character with a neat and sophisticated appearance and behavior. But Ikki became also a unique Japanese aesthetic. It's translated into design that can be concise, that looks sophisticated, simple, and a more time-expressing refinement. Ikki structure in Edo period was also about maintaining a proper distance. In a formal language, we can talk about patterns, even if those patterns are unfinished. We consider this as our desire to bring the cutting edge or a concise simplicity to modern-day Japan. Wabi-sabi. We already talked about this very present Japanese notion and philosophy to embrace imperfection. It's a way of life and also a way to create. Wabi-sabi is an aesthetic that finds spiritual richness in the incomplete, a worldview that finds spiritual depth and sublimity in the less, simply finding beauty in the imperfection. Kabuku. Nissan is a mirror of today and also an example of how society receives openness to the exterior, meaning the foreigner. I guess I am one example of that. And it celebrates plurality. We are recreating the concept of kabuku in our future production. Maybe the word reminds you of kabuki. Traditional Japanese theater kabuku, or behaving strangely, is the genesis of that theater, daring to embrace the strange as an expression of rebellion, defying convention and order. In our shapes, it is a way to express something bold and noble with audacity and diversity. Ma. Another concept we are using is a result of the Western fascination for Japan. We already experienced in this 19th century when we saw the influence of Japanese paintings in the Art Nouveau, or in the architecture of this island in architects like from the Bauhaus, and also Frank Lloyd Wright. Ma literally means a gap, an empty space. Ma can be also a space of silence. And now this concept has been reinterpreted to create or recreate with a tone of fascination, admiration for the Japanese language and culture. It is in Ma, which is the mastery of the empty space, that I find the deepest beauty. For us to be able to discover beauty of the pure and the simple space, to bring harmony, reflection, consideration, and a deep and powerful silence is what you will see us designers at Nissan Motors chasing in the coming years. So, while today Nissan is a global company, we continue to embrace and celebrate our Japanese DNA, especially through design moving forward. Nissan designers will continue to express both our deep and enduring connection to Japan, but also our excitement about the transformative technologies that are going to bring the future to us today. So, arigato, and thank you very much. 5 minutes to spare. Gomenasai. A little nervous, I ran through that. Okay.
Thank you, Alfonso. Okay, next, Cyan Lee from Hyundai, talking about Genesis, who joined a year ago. So let's look forward to his storytelling.
It's so great to meet you, all of you here today. And this is a special privilege for me to speak about this young luxury brand, Genesis. As a car designer, I'm sure all of you here, you love our job. For me, it's obviously the being a car designer is something very, very special. There's something that I love, something where my heart is since I was a kid. And it will be like this the rest of my life, for sure. But at the same time, the designing car and rebuilding the brand, a typology of the brand, is even more privileged. And I would like to share some of that story with you guys here today.
I can't remember why I'm feeling this way. I guess I should be crying, but my heart just won't obey. It feels strange to be happy as I lie here on the rooftop in the rain. I say, that made me who I am. I say, amen. To everyone who ever hurt me, I'm stronger because of them. Amen. I think I found a way to smile and be okay with myself, with my
This is a video clip of our SUV concept. Was launched in New York Auto Show this year. And New York Auto Show is something very special for us. This is we launched and we've been launched, and we will in every show car main introduction. Our first show car, New York concept, the sedan concept, was launched 2 years ago. This year, GV80, and I'm sure there will be another show car at the New York Auto Show, very at the end of the media conference. And why is it New York? Why did we pick New York as a launching our concept car? Answer to the question is relatively simple. We found our hometown, Seoul, is something very special. And outside of the Korea, the similarity, we found a lot in New York to Seoul. It's culturally rich, and the trend is so fast, and also very, very, very dynamic. And on the top of it, it's not the center of the automotive. So I think this really gives a message to facet, and the New York and the Seoul create our actually brand very special, unique tension, the position-wise. And obviously Seoul, every year we will launch in the production car, not at the Global Auto Show, our hometown, Seoul, Korea. So stay tuned for all the cars. We'll launch the production car in Seoul, and we'll launch the concept car in New York City. And as a young luxury brand, Genesis, it's very, very important for us to ask ourselves, what is the luxury? What makes luxury? And how we develop it together? I think we're looking for the answer in many different aspects of it. But I think, and we think, what Coco Chanel described as luxury is something really define what luxury is supposed to be. Luxury is the opposite of vulgarity, not the poverty. It's not about rich or poor. It's about money. It's about something give very special to owner to have. So in the morning, in the busy day, really nice coffee from the barista. Not for everyone, just for you. For us, this is the luxury. And at the same time, when it comes to the dish, special dish with a special moment, with a special people, that also to be a luxury. In that sense, design is almost like cook, the chef, the creating the memorable dish. We really have to understand our customer. If a customer, our client, vegetarian or meat lover, or this is a very important part. The chef has to understand what is the taste of the customer, and we cooked memorable dish is the design, something that create a unique dish served to the customer. And in that aspect, there's many types of luxury you can find. For example, the challenging luxury, the extreme challenges on engineering, like air scoop in the Murcielago Aventador is a design feature. At the same time, it based on the very, very strong functionality. So extreme challenges on engineering could be one facet for the luxury. And the other one could be something that totally based on customer. It's a rewarding luxury. Something that rewards to your hard work, that what you've been doing. This is why design has to be rather simple and pure, understated. And at the same time, because of that reason, the detail has to be absolutely perfect, absolutely exclusive to make it something special. It's not to your face, More you look at it, more you appreciate it. And this is one of the previous company that I worked on. Really looking all the facets of the car, there's always hidden beauty. We find this journey of discovery. I think journey of discovery sometimes is more important than actually the first appearance, what you're facing to when it comes to the luxury. And at the end of it, that interior could be the customer's very special, unique place. This is one bespoke comes. And at the end of it, the rewarding luxury is all about the lifestyle. It's a part of the club that you're enjoying the brand. And of course, there's avant-garde, the provocative side of the luxury, something very, very different than the rest of the world. Yep. And Alexander McQueen's one of the fashion show. I was so excited because it's so different. There's nobody else did it before. And this created their niche on the provocative luxury. And then what does a Genesis luxury has to be? I think this is something that even before we do the sketch, we have to really think as a designer, creating the typology of the brand. And the luxury, obviously, there's something that has to be desirable from everybody. Without that, luxury doesn't exist. The rich are the rich, they're not stupid. You have to have a reason why. Yeah. So we start from the brand. Three main columns of the set. We have to be audacious. The word is fine without Genesis. We are actually addition to the market. If you're not audacious, daring, we don't exist. I think that is very important. The being progressive is very important as a country being very leader in the high tech. And at the same time, the company itself is always being a progressive company, our mother company, Hyundai. And obviously, at the end of it, it has to be distinctively Korean. Every luxury brand has an origin. We know Burberry, London, and Chanel, Paris. Genesis is actually representing luxury of the Seoul, Korea. And then design that really creates the new value and proposition based upon it. Therefore, we have to be vision. We have to create a brand to need the vision, mission, DNA, strategy, and brand values. It comes out of it. Sometimes we focus on not only the visible materials and more importantly, what's invisible side is more important as well. We just opened up the new design studio, Genesis, this year, beginning of this year. And then it's actually the global studio based, the headquarters based in Namyang. And we have a place in Germany and America. And try to create a design story together. I think our design studios are very unique because it's all glass. It's all transparent. And you have to be transparent in order to create a story out of it. And of course, talent is so important. As I mentioned to you, we have 3 different places. And great design leaders are leading it. But more importantly, we believe the team. Dream team is the most important, the signature, what we want to really highlight as a Genesis design team. Superstar designer, not so much as a superstar team that we are focused at the moment. And the innovation, obviously, the process of making a car. I think this is something that we have to challenge, we need to challenge. And this is perfect opportunity, a brand like Genesis, because we are young, we are starting. We cannot really live with what has been done for the last 100 years. Athletic elegance is the key word for Genesis design brand philosophy. As I mentioned to you before, that we are launching the car 2 different places, New York and Seoul. And actually the culture being distinctively Korea. Korea is actually quite interesting, especially the Seoul. It's really multicultural. The balance of yin and yang, and almost a cocktail of Jekyll and Hyde, that concept is there in the city. There's a really dynamic culture. There's a really serene culture, K-pop and tea culture. At the same time, there's high tech. At the same time, there's a master craftsmanship. This is actually a great asset to have a good luxury brand, because design is all about creating the tension between sometimes 2 contradictory element or complementing element. Those 2 that we are creating the tension. And the same thing, they combine to athletic elegance. Athleticism and elegance. Sometimes it's contradictory, sometimes it's complementary together. Creating the tension between those 2 is the key ingredients of our design. Athletic elegance. G70, our new compact sedan, has just launched last month. Really complete our sedan portfolio. Those are the 2 columns, athletic elegance, character, really throughout you can see in our sedan portfolio. Our flagship G90, it's obviously the most elegant, our flagship, but at the same time, it's a touch of the athletic character, I would say about 20%, where G80 is actually athletic elegant touch. It's just right in the middle, like a 50-50. Or the G70 is more about a more athletic character and then combined with touch of the elegant touch. And this will continue in our portfolio. This will progress in our SUV lines, completion of 2020, and so on with electrical cars. At the end of it, we want to create a brand that gets respect. Out of the 3 columns, audacious and a progressive and a distinctively Korean. Those are the key facets. Through that, we want to have a brand to be the respectful, the luxury brand in the future.
We believe in respect for tradition,
for nature's power.
We respect competition because it brings out our very best.
Respect for ideals and standing for something bigger than ourselves.
We respect life in all forms
and believe it should be protected at all costs.
We respect design
and creativity.
They remind us that we are unique beings whose creations make a difference.
We respect time because we know it's the most valuable thing humans possess.
Respect displays the best of who we are, because respect sees another as worthy of our time.
Worthy of the very best we can give.
Introducing Genesis, in a world scrambling to put itself first.
Respect is a breath of fresh luxury.
It's actually, as Shiro mentioned, I used to live in 8 different countries, and even though I only officially changing company twice, somehow I ended up working on 15 different brands. And my last brand that I worked before Genesis was Bentley. I was in crew for 4.5 years, really experiencing wonderful the British luxury. It was my privilege for breathing with the whole passionate British design team with the underneath of the brand together. And that was something I cannot forget forever. One thing that I must say is the Bentley has 100 years of the history, started from 1919. We're celebrating in 2 years for the 100-year anniversary. I remember that when you first start the Bentley design, there's a book, the Bentley Bible. Since 1919, you have to memorize every single models in order to design Bentley. You have to remember everything, the history, Bentley boys, and everything. So when you do the sketch, The first thing you look at the sketch, first question that you ask is this Bentley enough? That's how you design the Bentley. So it's a very special, but at the same time, sometimes there is a pressure from the heritage. It's quite strong. Genesis is the brand that has the same Bible here. When you open this up, it's filled with empty pages. And for us, designer is very, very special. The work that we're doing, we're building a brand. I'm sure we just brand launched 2 years ago. I'm sure as it goes by, it won't be all success all the time. There will be sometimes mistake. There will be difficulty. There's a good time and a bad time. But as being part of the brand, the feeling of the brand Bible, this is something very special that I'm looking for as a team and as all of our Genesis design team together. So this is only beginning of the part, and please stay tuned for what is coming next. Thank you very much.
New Bible of Genesis was what we look very much forward to. So I'm sure that you have worked in various brands, Sangyup-san, and then you've come over to Korea, and a superstar-like existence is what you are. And I think a superstar-like team is what you would like to become, and it is very impressive. So I would like to hear about the details later on. So next is Sawa-san from Lexus. Good afternoon, or good morning. Thank you very much for your kind introduction. I am Yoshihiro Sawa, president of Lexus International. As a company, we are rather young, so we have various challenges. As a brand direction, we would like to give excitement and spice to enrich our customers' lives. A lifestyle brand is what we would like to have. Out of that, a very important factor, which is L Finesse, which enhances the Lexus brand, will be mentioned. First of all, it's important to mention that we build cars based on our principles that Lexus is ahead of its time to create amazing and impressive cars. In order to provide amazing experience that exceed our customers' expectations, it's important for us to create a Lexus world with a story unique to Lexus. So this story is closely related to design, performance, and all the values that Lexus represents. In order to create original values that are distinct to Lexus, creativity and uniqueness are important. In order to create designs that are unique to Lexus, we have gone back to our roots. But what are those roots? Where do we find our origins? Shapes have a logic and style has meaning. We deeply reflected upon ourselves. As you are all aware, Lexus' roots lies in Japan, and our creative mindset is based on the Japanese spirit, sensibilities, and craftsmanship. We combine seemingly contradictory elements, and in doing so, we avoid conflict and compromise. We harmonize. The synergy effect creates whole new values, enabling us to create globally appealing products. For example, the Lexus brand was launched in 1989 with the first LS model, which is this. It was powerful, yet fuel efficient. Acceleration was impressive, yet it was quiet. We combined contradictory elements with our yet philosophy. This epoch-making model redefined the standard of luxury cars and established the foundation of the brand. At Lexus, we call this unique Japanese approach the J factor, and it serves as the basis of our design philosophy. So, with that background as the root, Lexus design philosophy is establishing the L Finesse. We call this philosophy L Finesse. radical yet delicate. L stands for leading edge. It means that to be forefront of technology and trend and thoughts. Plus finesse. This means redefined, delicate, subtle, expressing the Japanese mastery. Combining leading edge and finesse creates a synergy effect that enables Lexus design to realize a unique original beauty that elevates car design to the realm of art. And L finesse consists of the following three elements. The first is seamless anticipation. It expresses the Japanese sense of hospitality by integrating the notion of time into design. It's like a journey alongside a garden path that guides the guests to the tea room, and we integrate experience within our designs, providing values that go beyond mere shapes. With our human-centered approach, you simply need to reach out to find what you need. All functions are intuitively located to enable the driver to concentrate on driving without the need to change his or her posture. Our human-centered approach is subtly applied all over the car. Incisive simplicity, Jun. Next is incisive simplicity. It means to create boldness and strength through persistent refinement in order to reveal the purity of the elements. For example, the main volume begins at the spindle grille, and large wheels are placed on the four corners. These two are the foundation of the basic architecture. Masterfully fusing the two results in bold proportions with a beautiful silhouette. Last is intriguing elegance, Mio. Harmoniously combining opposite elements creates a profound and mysterious beauty, Lexus design. Expertly combines soft with solid shapes. In doing so, there's no compromise. The essence of each element is condensed and stands out even more due to the contrast. And the seamless anticipation, incisive simplicity, and intriguing elegance don't exist independently. It's the harmonious coexistence that constitutes the essence of elfiness with elfiness. So expressions vary according to time, place, or viewing angle, and provides a sense of surprise and excitement to our customers. Our tagline is "Experience Amazing." But philosophy alone doesn't reflect the Lexus design. The Lexus finesse is given shape by the people. Brave design. Brave is the mindset of every member of our team, relentlessly seeking to change the status quo. Every Lexus model aims to have a unique design and an original beauty of its own. We have 3 coupes in our lineup, the LFA, RC, and LC. The body type is the same, but the designs are completely different. The same goes for other body types. They all sport our signature spindle grille, but each model has its unique design concept. This is to give a unique character to each model in order to satisfy the diverse lifestyle of our customers. Rather than using the same design throughout the lineup, we want to give each member of the family a distinct characteristic. For this, we don't rely on our past successes. We need to challenge conventions and be determined in our mission. We aren't afraid to change the status quo. Our attitude is to be brave in our mission. Lastly, in order to provide exciting and inspiring experiences, We actively take part in events beyond the automotive field, and we want to be more than just an automotive brand. We want to be a lifestyle brand to enrich and add flavors to our customers' lives. Thank you very much for your kind attention, and please view our concept video.
何かを見た瞬間、心が動いてしまうことがある。そこにはただ形の美しさだけではなく、もっと心の奥に響く根源的な何かが存在する。我々はその何かを追い求め、自らの感性と向き合い、原点を見つめ続けてきた。原点にあったのは日本ならではの精神、感性、技、さらには相反する要素を高次元で調和させようとする二律創生への挑戦。そしてたどり着いたのがレクサスのデザインフィロソフィー、エルフィネス。 L はリーディングエッジの L であり、次の時代を切り開く先鋭を意味し、フィネスは日本の感性が生み出す精妙、思考の技を意味する。先鋭と精妙、この相反する要素を二律創生させ、驚きと感動を生み出すために我々は常に3つの要素を意識している。よ、心の動きを察知し、心地よい時間軸をデザインに織り込むこと。純、選び抜かれた要素の純度を鋭敏なまでに高め、大胆な強さへ。妙、相反する要素の調和が醸し出すミステリアスで深みのあるエレガンス。このエルフィネスによってレクサスは独自の美しさを生み出し、カーデザインをアートの領域まで高め、人々の心を動かし続けていく。
ありがとうございました。
ありがとうございました。
Thank you. Lexus, the spindle grille, I think, has been now seen as a face of Lexus. Now, I would like to act as moderator, so allow me to ask some questions. And if time allows us, I would like to open the floor, then to take some questions. So let me ask some questions. Say Japanese brand designers and Korean brand team are with us. Mr. Sawa working on Japanese brand in Japan, and Mr. Lee working on Genesis in Korea, and Alfonso has been working on Infinity for many years. The spindle grille is one thing, but say Japanese culture, Korean culture, something like that, in order to incorporate such cultural aspects to actual designs, in addition to philosophy. But I think you need to think about the people, designers, and some other aspects. So what kind of elements do you consider when you think about the way to incorporate cultural aspects to the design? The spindle aspect is one thing, but I think what's important is method. Method is something that changes with the time, but philosophy remains unchanged. And speaking of Lexus design, it's not only Japan, but we have California, China, we have studios. So we carry out competition within ourselves to select design. Of course, designers are not only Japanese, but of different origins, and all of them think about designing Lexus. And philosophy has to exist. It cannot be Lexus otherwise. But in order to share that philosophy on a global basis, that's something we've been doing for 10 years now. And then, so Elfines-based design propositions are made from different parts of the world. And putting some Japanese work we can complete. And all the generations of Lexus can be seen as Lexus because of that consistency, selection, designing, and make them into a product. Spindle cooler is just one element, as mentioned in the presentation. Of course, we have different design methodologies, but in order to have that, the product recognized as Lexus, I think the methods are quite important. Alfonso, what do you think?
Answer to that in the sense that Lexus is more than the spindle grille, is very obvious. And I think Infiniti and Nissan and a Japanese car can differentiate itself because of the DNA of the people designing it. So in Japan, before we do anything, we have deep consideration of the steps, the material, a deep understanding of the process before we act. And this comes from the DNA. This is not an American, it's not the European mindset. So then when you go into the premiums where the fingerprint of the artist, the innovator is felt in the object itself. I think it's more than a grill, it's more than a little signature. It's about the car or the monozukuri itself. And then, same as Toyota Motors and Lexus, we have global studios everywhere. I think I have 7. But we are a mix. We have Japanese designers. Out of the 800 members, maybe 550 are Japanese. The other members are in love with Japan. So when you join Lexus, it's because you joined on purpose. When you joined Infiniti and Nissan, you joined on purpose. It's a love of the uniqueness of a Japanese monozukuri. And we all study this together, and we all are always kind of oksukaresama to find perfection in a unique way.
Samson, can you share with some thought?
And, obviously, the same. We have a global information, as I mentioned to you, the similar setup. But actually, how we develop in our story together, it's not really competitional way. We always talk and we always communicate, almost like every day, global studios together. How we build up the brand and what is the story, and everybody has a task to deliver based upon it. Design studio, obviously, we are very, very global. We have Russians, French, German, you name it. But I think it's important that everybody get together to create this very special luxury brand together. So I think that is the main key. When it talk about more culture in Korea, it's actually it's a quite unique the Korean culture. There's a really dynamic character. At the same time, there's a really humble character. And there's a cold and hot, and as I mentioned to you, the company like we have a LG chief designer over here. There's a Samsung and LG leading technology company. At the same time, you find master craftsmanship so easily at the corner of the soul. So it's really about the harmony. How we for us is all the fundamentals there in the culture, and how we pick out the story to develop into the future. It's a very important part. Of course, the car, the future car with all the connected, autonomous, and everything, technology has to be there. The technology, without this technology, you cannot survive in the industry. But at the same time, how we balance this together, how you create the storyline together, for me is the most important thing as a designer has to do. Because sometimes everybody's putting, we all know everybody's putting big screen in the car, in the front, and the side and left. But if you actually look at a lot of people, most of people, they always go to work and sitting in front of the big screen, working all day, and you're ready to go home. You sit in the car, and the first thing is a bloody big screen on your face. And this is not the story how you're pulling the technology together. So I think this is a lot of challenges, but at the same time, It's a fun challenge, I must say.
You know, if I can add a little bit, this sounds strange because I'm not Japanese, but I think internationalism is dangerous. In a world where excellence is difficult but achievable, the differentiation is the culture of the companies. That if I close my eyes and I dream, cars from Korea are uniquely Korean, even if they're designed by international people. Cars of Japan are Japanese, Chinese are Chinese, American are American, Germans, well, Germans are always German, but the Italians are Italian. Because that's what freedom is. To find a meaning behind an object is the people themselves. And so as we move forward and we all move around so many times, 25 places or 8 places in 25 years, we have to somehow study deeply where we're going.
いやでも
Thank you. All different kinds of brands being worked together by different people from different countries and nationalities, but the philosophy is important. The brand is based on, or the country's culture or core things, and all these factors will be put into a car design. And I think we would like to look forward even more to future cars. So speaking of luxury brands, German 3, they are still in the mainstream. The new luxury brands like Lexus, Infiniti, which came to the fore in 1980s, and Genesis. It's been around 10 years. 2015 it was launched. Still a very young brand. It's developing, established, and yet it's developing. That's what Genesis is. But so, what do you think about Genesis? The German 3s. What are the values that your brand has? Or what kind of brand? The values that you would like to propose in your brands, in terms of with the German 3s in mind.
I'd like to start. It's not just Lexus, but Genesis and Infiniti are the same. They're young brands, which means that there are challenges enabled. Historical brands mean that, in a sense, there is some kind of binding factor. It's a heritage of the history, and many customers would really be loving that. The heritage is neutered, and it's a value, and that's given to the customers. We have not much heritage. On the other hand, we are not bound by so much, so we can be very much challengeable. The other is the traditional history brands against which something different from that as a value has to be created. Otherwise, the new brands won't be purposely selected. So what is that value? Originality in each of the brands do exist. We obviously, be it in philosophy or design methods, there are changes there. It's not just about cars. Various boats and other activities are put together so that a world or global sense is spread through that activity. We say it's a lifestyle brand. Lexus does not stop two things. It's time, experience, something beyond the objects. That world is shared with the customers. If they intentionally select Lexus, they will become friends with us in areas other than cars. That's the approach we take. So that's a uniqueness that we would like to grow in our brand. And this is one of the reasons that the customers will purposely select our brand.
When you think about the history of premium, I mean, how many generations of S-Class exist today? We are in the 8th or 9th, I don't even know how many S-Class. What I do know is when I was a child in Miami, and when the new S-Class came, there was always a significant difference from the previous luxury cars. It showed a new state of the art, a new benchmark. But now the world, the S-Class does not live alone. It can be challenged. Tesla Model S has challenged it in a significant way. It's an opportunity for all of us. You have to make something pure, something clear to distract the people who are genuinely and satisfied with cars like the S-Class. It's a wonderful car. The Germans make extremely wonderful cars. So you have to, again, distract and make a relationship with the customer in a unique way, not chase them, because you can never be like them. But that's why I think it's important for us to completely tell the story of our company. Oh, sorry.
So uniqueness concretely means, what is it? Is there some kind of prototype or something like that?
The leverage that we don't have millions of loyal customers because we're young. So we have freedom that they don't necessarily have. Freedom to create a new value, a new meaning of luxury, a new meaning of state-of-the-art, avant-garde. We are more free. Whether we use it all the time, I don't know, but we are more free. Basically.
Early on, Sangyup-san also mentioned, and that is what I thought too. It seems that luxury, something to buy as luxury, to put it in your hands, means that if you grow up, then something delicious is where you meet with the chefs and you say, this is the dish that we really am pursuing, and it seems more delicious. Why did you use this plate, etc., are understood and flavored, and it means that something is selected, something is eaten, something is intaken, be it water. You want to be very much particular, and that person may select the luxury brand. So Sangyup-san, in that sense, can you say that, as in the case of Bentley where you worked at, in other luxury brands, what kind of value do you intend, first of all, to supply? Is there something concrete? Well, you talked about some wonderful presentation, but is there anything that comes to your mind?
I have a huge respect for the brands. I mean, same thing for the British brand as well. So we look at them, but we don't look at them too close. It's because we are a young luxury brand. If you only look at what they're doing, and we're going to be me too. And this is why daring is so important. You need to have confidence. If you're not confident, you cannot do this business. Because when it comes to design, sometimes design is subjective. You like it, you buy it. You don't like it, you don't buy it. So I think being confident is very important. For us, the brand, we're not actually going to the path what the German tourists are doing, because we want to establish the luxury brand. We have to start from somewhere, and as I mentioned to you before, it's the soul, where our heart and soul is. And our own country, we have to control first in order to go out globally in Europe and America. So I think our main focus, obviously, the Genesis will be the global brand, but we are very much focused on our own domestic market at the moment. Just as I mentioned, the Burberry is London, Chanel's Paris, and then Genesis Seoul.
Thank you. Say, although you say those are young brands, but say Volvo, Jaguar, you see the new aspect of their designs lately. They are really increasing their presence. Sangyup, what do you think?
Yeah. If a value comes with it, price is actually, for me, is a secondary. I buy iPhone if they raise the price $50 next generation, because I trust that brand. So for me, it's actually the job of designer is something, isn't it? We are creating the value for the customer, the value the customer loves. And I think it's okay that everything is quantifiable, but at the same time, there's something it's actually money cannot do. So I think the price is very sensitive. Of course, if I say this to our finance, and they'll get mad at me. But I think for us, a designer, it's about value focused and what value you can give it to the customer.
それではバリューという
For value, there is one other point. Sawa-san and Alfonso-san would like to ask you about values. Passive quality. So the high quality in production is quite obvious, but people may take it in their hands, and when they see it, then they would feel that it's really high quality. And there is something that you need to transcend. In luxury brands, perceived quality, where do you focus on? Various manufacturers are very much particular about what are the perceived qualities. But in Lexus or Infiniti, if there are some focus areas you have about this, do you have anything? Sawa-san, please. In various areas, quality is injected. Therefore, if you ask about something concrete, then it's rather difficult. So it's an overall impression. Quality obviously means that people's eyes are wonderful. Namely, even if it's the same thing, if you look at it, the sense of mass, etc. You're not holding it, but the sense of mass, and it seems maybe soft if you touch it. That, from experience, is felt already when you see the object. Therefore, that sort of person existing should be understood in order to create objects and select the material. It's not just about designers alone, be it the people at the factories or people who are sewing the leather, etc. You have to exchange with various people in order to come up with something that is really good. So the designers are handling everything at this moment. We haven't gone to that stage yet. But the background story, something that is invisible to the eye, and as in the presentation, something invisible may have a value in its story. We talked about some menus and dishes. You communicate with the customers by which values may be more increased and heightened. So from the makers, there should be some message given, and also background story should be also communicated at the same time. It seems as though something may exist, but some kind of communication trigger is necessary, so some kind of trigger is embedded in order to communicate with the customers. That's what we consider about. Well, I love driving cars too. Therefore, the design of the cars and also how they feel in driving. Those to be synergized means the sense of luxury of the cars. You say yes. Alfonso-san, do you think anything is about this?
In Infiniti and in Nissan both, we have a methodology where we, at a glance, you should start to feel quality. So we use a 10 meter, 3 meter, 1 meter touch as a kind of framework. So at 10 meters, right away, we feel the customer, the human being, starts to feel that the monozukuri side, that this car is well engineered, and it has a sense of good proportion and how it's put together generally. And then when you start getting close at 3 meter, you start to feel the craftsmanship, the assembly process, the gaps, all of these things. And then 1 meter and touch, then it's the human artistry side. For Infiniti, we want you to feel this is handmade, which is a little bit different than the mass market. So the value in premium is where you feel the fingerprint of the artist in the fundamental quality. So it's no longer just a matter of fit and finish because anyone can do it. It's more these more intangible, even the unfinished, as I mentioned, as part of Japanese DNA. You must have evidence that an extremely talented person has made this object. So these are the things that we talk about in the studio.
やはり皆さんデザインはやっぱり作る
See designs, yes.
So there should be some connection with the people who actually create the cars, and that is very important. So if you go look at a distance, it may be art or object, but the more you near the vehicle, the temperature or the warmness is more felt. Such a car would be very much important for luxury cars, and that may be through material selections and various other areas. I understand that the time has more or less come, and so very, very briefly, I would like to ask one question to each and every one of you. You talked about electrification or connected cars early on. In the future, autonomous driving electrification may progress, in which case the commoditization of cars, which is often mentioned, may be leading to the fact that luxury cars commoditizing. Well, within that segment, maybe such autonomous driving or electrification may occur, but how would that change values? It's very difficult to explain one word, but I'm very, very sensitive to that. Can you, each of us, talk about it?
Let me switch to my mother tongue, Japanese. Speaking of electrode, I think the commodityness will pursue. It's already happening. Electrification also precedes, and that trend, of course, develops. But the main factor is sort of a communication or dialogue, I should say, the factor that will remain in this luxury segment. Monozukuri aspect, or the message that we can communicate, will last. And what about the electricness, connectiveness, progressed, like automotive driving? Say autopilot can be used. It's very easy, especially when the drivers are tired, that's for sure. But see, manual and automotive driving coexist. And when the driver feels tired, say, suddenly the car can support the driver so that the car can give a driver a sense of comfort. And so the fun to drive, I would like to continue seeing. And also something different can be provided through technologies by, for example, by collecting, say, the pictures using cameras. You can put together to come up with the data to, for example, alleviate traffic congestions, or to reduce stress on driver, or different services availability, and so on. So when something uncertain happens in a car, or when he or she is driving, new services or information could be provided to them. And also, a car can evolve together with such connectedness. The car can learn. And so the car can become more partner to a driver. So something new like this could be made possible, and the challenge to us is to put it into value.
Who would like to start?
I need about 2 hours to talk about this.
Go ahead.
I think this is something we cannot avoid. The autonomous, connected, AI, electrification. This is all we're facing. It's quite exciting as a designer job because we live in the world of paradigm changes of the transportation. In a way, it's like back in the days, horse riding was the transportation. But look now, it's a sports. Horse riding is not no longer transportation. Same thing in a way, car. We're going through the same path. The car inside, it was actually the space-wise, especially it was a driving environment before, but now it's becoming a living space, isn't it? So that means you have to provide everything. And technology is available. There's hundreds of thousands of technology can be applied into the car at this point. But actually, this is why even more important a designer's job, because how we orchestrate it and in a simple, so everybody to understand what that means as a living space. So it's actually the big task and the challenges, but at the same time, this is what I'm sure that Infiniti and Lexus, as a Genesis or Geometry, whoever that is, and they all think it very deeply at the moment. And actually, everybody has every auto show. There's a solution. Some are cool and some are not there. But actually, this is something that really they lead towards the new generation. That's what makes our job is quite exciting, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, I also maybe need 2 hours, but one of the things I can say, and I think these gentlemen is the same, maybe what they're working on in their studio has maybe not so much to do with what we see today from their brands. It's the same for us. Even in Detroit, we will start showing Infiniti's new DNA, driven by new technologies that is allowing us to change proportion and all of these things. And it's really a creative moment for designers because electrification, connectivity, driverless, and all are a part. And one thing I could say is I have 3 daughters, and 19-year-old, 17, and 16. There is no risk for the automobile because the young people today are not subtractive.
Yeah.
It's just additional.
Right.
Yeah.
So the driverless car, they will be part of their life, but it will not be all of their life.
That's right.
They will want to own, just like my daughters who always want a car. And so this is a part of I'm in love with about the whole industry is that the technology is driving a new aesthetic. And then also artificial intelligence, which you didn't mention in your question. Here in Japan, we're doing some experiments with some universities of how you can input and wheels, maybe confidential, but well, anyway, we're family, that we put in all the history of wheels, every wheel that we've ever made. And our first car was 1914, so all the data. And then you also put in some benchmarking into the computer. And then you can play with the computer. You put a flower, or you put the Eiffel Tower or Tokyo Tower, and the computer starts to try to understand what you mean. It doesn't simply A, B, C, 1 + 2 + 3. It's trying to understand the meaning of the flower that you brought into this context. And then it spits out a wheel. We've already had the first one. Not so good looking, to be honest. But I do believe that the future of artificial intelligence and all the technologies is going to make our life very rich.
じゃあそういう意味ってありがとうございます。
Thank you very much. In that sense, each and every one of you consider no risk or new aesthetics or new sense of values with which, as a luxury brand, independence and uniqueness may be incorporated, even if it's in the future, be it AI and various technology and design are well combined. Thank you very much. Therefore, the time has come, unfortunately. So maybe we should conclude here. Sorry for the time surpassing. With that, to the 3 panelists, please give them applause. Thank you very much, Alfonso-san and Sawa-san. And I'm sorry that the moderation was not so good, but thank you very much for your attendance.
Thank you.
Thank you.